Hi, and welcome to the Special Education News Roundup, brought to you by myself, Jennifer Price, Principal Attorney at the Law Office of Jennifer O. Price. Now, one of the issues typically addressed in an IEP is how to provide the child special education and related services in the least restrictive environment, or the LRE, that's appropriate to the child's needs. The IDEA requires that to the maximum extent possible, children with disabilities need to be educated with children who are not disabled. So special classes, separate schooling, or other removal of children with disabilities from the regular educational environment should basically just be a last resort. Generally speaking, the requirement results in some sort of policy educating disabled students whenever possible and appropriate alongside non-disabled students in that state system of general education in public schools. Now, remember also that the IDEA obligates states to provide a FAPE to all children with disabilities who live within that state between the ages of 3 and 21. Now, AH is a child with Down syndrome who lives in a public school district in Tennessee. Now, coming up for their daughter's 3rd birthday, the parents met with the school officials to begin working on an IEP. AH's IEP team determined that, if possible, her least restrictive environment would be in a general education preschool with non-disabled peers, with AH being pulled out occasionally from that general ed environment, only to the extent necessary for her to receive various direct language services in a special education setting. Now, unfortunately, the elementary school that AH was planning to attend had no general education preschool classrooms. However, it did have a special education classroom for children ages 3 through 5. While her parents didn't want her educated in a special education only classroom, especially considering that the IEP team's recommendation did not provide for that. So the school then offered for her to attend a pilot program at another elementary school within the district where AH would receive education in a special education classroom still, but 2 days a week, 4 non-disabled students would join that classroom. Again, the parents said, nope, that's not good enough. And what was the school's response? Too bad. We're not hiring a general education teacher to work with 3-year-olds. Well, why not? Okay, here we go. I'm sure some of you parents have heard this one before. Budgetary reasons. Basically, because a general education teacher is not responsible for teaching special education, that teacher's salary would not be paid for by the federal government. Well, that's not good enough. So the parents ultimately filed a complaint in federal district court, basically saying that the child was denied a FAPE. School, of course, tried to get that complaint dismissed in its very early stages of the proceedings, but the court refused to dismiss the case. At the end of the day, the court agreed with the parents and stated that they did consent to the services. So here's the thing. The district tried to claim that AH's parents refused to consent to services, but that could be further from the truth. In fact, the court noted that the parents had zealously pursued special education services for their child, but ultimately walked away from this process when the parties basically reached an impasse on a fundamental question of what kind of classroom AH would be taught in. It's important to know that the legal angle on which the school tried to get this case dismissed and relied upon is what's known as consent. The law makes it very clear. A school cannot provide services to which the parents don't consent. This case was not considered to be one in which the parents didn't consent, though. The parents did consent. They consented to their daughter, AH, receiving services in the general sense. They simply disagreed on a fundamental aspect of its delivery, and the court made special note that the disagreement was not a minor detail. I also like the fact that the court pointed out that if the school district had its way by getting a dismissal, it would totally undermine the purpose of the IDEA. Specifically according to the court, that would mean going forward, school districts would be rewarded for offering inferior services that they know parents will refuse. And this in turn could allow a district to be relieved of any obligation to provide a child a FAPE. Good call, Judge. Good call. Until next time, my friends.